Tonight, we're diving into a chilling tale, one of the most haunted rooms in the world, and what truly happens to those who were brave or foolish enough to step inside the room. This story stretches back 2 centuries, yet the sinister legend of that room remains terrifyingly alive today. Get ready, because things are about to get strange. But before we get into the story, I want to thank you for liking and subscribing. Okay, let's get into the story. It was late evening in 1840 London. A group of wealthy young noblemen were gathered on the front porch of a grand townhouse at 50 Berkeley Square, one of the city's most exclusive addresses. Among them is Sir Robert Warboy, a man known for his wild streak and his love of a good dare. Robert isn't here for a fancy party, he's here to win a bet. Robert, a grin plastered across his face, knocks on the door and then turns to his friends. Some are buzzing with excitement, others look visibly nervous, but Robert? He's just relishing the moment, already imagining the epic story he'll have to tell by morning. A moment later, the door creaks open. Charles Benson, the owner of the townhouse, stands there, looking surprisingly apprehensive despite having been forewarned of their arrival. "Hey, Charles," Robert says, "I'm here for the bet." Charles's only reply is a worried glance and a question. "Are you sure you really want to do this?" Robert's hand instinctively goes to the pistol at his hip as he confidently says, "Yeah, I'm sure." Inside, Robert and his 5 friends settle around the dining room table. Robert can see the tension in his friends' faces, far more nervous than he is. He cracks jokes, trying to lighten the mood, but their unease is palpable. Minutes later, Charles descends the stairs. He walks into the room, his expression grim, and pulls an old iron key from his pocket, placing it with a thud in the center of the table. The room falls silent, all eyes fixed on the key. Charles finally breaks the quiet, explaining that in the 10 years he'd lived in the townhouse, he'd only used that key a handful of times. He'd even hidden it to ensure it wouldn't end up in the wrong hands. His gaze settles on Robert. "If you're really sure about this, the key's yours." Without a moment's hesitation, Robert snatches the key, a defiant gesture to his friends and Charles that he's not backing down. Charles then leads the group up the narrow, creaking stairs to the 2nd floor. They reach a short, dark hallway, ending at a closed door. All 7 men are squeezed together, and it's clear that even Charles, the owner, is deeply uncomfortable being so close to this particular room. Robert's friends, the very ones who dared him, are now looking at him as if he's lost his mind, secretly hoping he'll chicken out so they can all escape. But Robert remains unfazed, a determined look in his eyes. While the others shrink back, he steps forward, pulls out the iron key, and slides it into the lock. As he turns it, everyone recoils. He swings the door open, and a collective gasp ripples through the group. Even Robert takes a step back. But when he peers inside, he laughs. It's just a normal bedroom, filled with elegant, antique furniture. A large wooden dresser with a mirror, a grand 4-poster bed, and above the bed, a red ribbon hanging from the ceiling, a bell pull for summoning servants. Robert, ever confident, steps into the room. Charles quickly grabs his wrist. "Robert," he warns, "this is your last chance to back out." "Are you sure?" Robert glances at his friends, smiles, and says, "Yeah, I'm sure. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning after I win the bet." He pulls away from Charles, walks into the room, and then, with a definitive click, shuts and locks the door from the inside. Robert's friends are stunned. Even for him, this seems incredibly reckless. A wave of guilt washes over them. They pushed him into this. If anything happens to Robert, it's partly on them. They turn to Charles, who has a grim, defeated look on his face. "I've got one more thing to show you before we hit the hay," he says. He leads them through the house to the servants' quarters at the back. It's a modest setup with a kitchen, laundry area, and several beds. Charles explains he's given his servants the night off, knowing Robert and his friends might need somewhere to stay. He points to a row of bells mounted above the beds. Each bell is connected to a different bell pull throughout the house. He points to one in particular, the bell connected to Robert's room. Their job, he explains, is to watch that bell all night. If it rings, it means something terrible is happening in Robert's room. They need to be on guard, ready to help if needed. 3 hours later, Robert's friends are sprawled on the floor of the servants' quarters, playing blackjack. It's almost midnight and they're exhausted, but the anxiety keeps them awake. They're fixated on that bell, worried sick about Robert. They even convince themselves that the bell might ring and they wouldn't hear it over their card game. So, they play quietly, their attention glued to the silent bell, the tension in the room growing with every passing minute. Suddenly, a sound makes them all leap, a blood-curdling scream from upstairs. For a moment, they're frozen in shock, then they bolt to their feet. Just then, Robert's bell begins to ring, violently, piercingly loud. They rush out of the servants' quarters and collide with Charles, who is also running towards the commotion. The ringing stops. The screaming stops. They are in the second-floor hallway, and it's deadly silent. The closed door to Robert's room looms ahead. Charles and the group cautiously walk down the hall, dreading what they might find. As they approach the door, a loud bang echoes from inside, followed by an immediate, terrifying silence. Seconds later, Robert's friends are pounding on the door, screaming his name, begging him to open it. But there's no sound from inside. The room remains utterly silent. Desperate, they begin to kick at the ancient door, trying to break it down. All the while, Charles stands back, watching the horror unfold. Finally, the century-old door splinters, and the friends stumble into the room. They freeze in shock. You see, when Charles bought this townhouse 10 years prior, it came with a chilling backstory. The previous owner had kept his violent, psychotic brother locked away in that very second-floor bedroom where Robert now lay. After the brother died in that room, strange and terrifying occurrences began. People reported hearing awful wailing sounds from the empty room. When they investigated, the wailing would stop, but furniture would be inexplicably moved. And then, there was the Nameless Thing, an amorphous, gray figure seen, slinking along the walls and across the floor, especially at night. No one knew what it was, but it felt inherently evil, a physical manifestation of malevolence. Robert Warboy, however, was a staunch disbeliever. He thought it was all just a fanciful ghost story. So when his friends dared him to spend a night in the haunted bedroom, he eagerly accepted. To him, there was no risk. It wasn't truly haunted, he'd be fine, and it would make a fantastic story for his gentleman's club. Unfortunately, Robert's night did not go as planned. When his friends burst into the room, the first thing they noticed was the red ribbon of the bell pull, ripped from the ceiling. Robert's pistol lay on the floor next to the bed, and on the opposite wall, a clear bullet hole. The loud bang they heard was the pistol firing. And then they saw Robert. He was lying rigidly on the bed, still clutching the tattered red ribbon. His eyes were wide open and bloodshot, his lips pulled back in a horrific grimace, teeth exposed. For a second, his friends thought he was having a seizure. They rushed to him, trying to rouse him. But as soon as they touched him, they realized why he was so stiff. Robert was dead. That night, the coroner arrived, taking Robert's body and opening an official inquest into his death. The verdict: massive heart failure caused by unknown circumstances. But to Charles and Robert's friends, who had witnessed the terror and seen Robert's final, horrifying state, it was clear Robert had come in contact with the so-called Nameless Thing in that room, and it had quite literally scared him to death. In the nearly 200 years since Robert's tragic end, 50, Berkeley Square has had many owners. And almost every single one has reported seeing, feeling, or hearing a malevolent presence in that second-floor bedroom. To this day, the room where the Nameless Thing apparently resides is considered one of the most haunted places in the entire world. The tale of 50, Berkeley Square, and the terrifying demise of Sir Robert Warboy serves as a chilling reminder that some mysteries may be best left undisturbed. Whether it was the sheer psychological terror of the unknown, or indeed the malevolent presence of the Nameless Thing, Robert's fate continues to fuel the sinister legend of one of the world's most haunted rooms. His story echoes through the centuries, a grim warning to anyone who dares to challenge the darkness that lurks within. Do you think anyone will ever truly uncover the secret of that room? What do you think really happened in that room? Let me know in the comments below.